What if I told you that one of the most sophisticated U.S. intelligence aircraft operating around the Philippines does not look like a traditional military aircraft at all? No large radar dome, no fighter jet silhouette, no obvious weapons. From a distance, it can look like an executive business jet, but beneath that civilian-looking exterior is a highly specialized intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platform designed to collect information from the electromagnetic environment and provide the U.S. Army with a much deeper picture of what is happening across a large area. And what makes this story even more interesting is that two of these aircraft have been operating from the Philippines for months. Their presence became even more widely discussed after one aircraft was incorrectly connected online to rumors involving Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa and an alleged escape or transport aircraft. But that viral story was misleading. The real story is much more interesting because the aircraft seen in open-source flight tracking data was not a getaway jet. It was associated with the U.S. Army's ATHENA-S airborne intelligence program, operated by Sierra Nevada Corporation, or SNC. So, what exactly is this aircraft doing in the Philippines? How sophisticated is it? How can open-source analysts track it? And perhaps most importantly, why has the Philippines become a forward operating location for this capability? Let's break it down. The aircraft at the center of this story is the Bombardier Global 6500, modified by Sierra Nevada Corporation for the U.S. Army's ATHENA-S program. The specific aircraft that has attracted attention is N650SN, commonly seen using the call sign Latte 92. Another sister aircraft, N650RX, has operated under the call sign Latte 18. And this distinction is important because some social media posts have incorrectly identified the aircraft as N605SN. The correct registration associated with the ATHENA-S aircraft is N650SN. The aircraft itself is based on a very capable commercial business jet. Bombardier designed the Global 6500 as an ultra-long-range aircraft capable of flying thousands of nautical miles without refueling. According to Bombardier, the aircraft has a maximum range of approximately 6,600 nautical miles, or about 12,223 kilometers. It can reach a maximum operating altitude of approximately 51,000 feet and can fly as fast as about Mach 0.9. That combination of altitude, speed, range, and endurance makes the platform extremely attractive for military intelligence missions. But the important part is not the business jet itself. It is what SNC has put inside it. ATHENA-S stands for Army Theater Level High Altitude Expeditionary Next Airborne ISR Signals Intelligence. The key word here is Signals Intelligence, or SIGINT. Instead of primarily looking for targets with a conventional camera, the aircraft is designed to collect and process signals from the electromagnetic environment. That can include communications-related emissions and other electronic signals associated with military systems. The precise configuration and performance of the sensors are not publicly disclosed in full, and that is exactly why we should be careful when analyzing these aircraft. Open-source observers can identify the platform, its location, flight path, altitude, and general mission category. But we should not pretend that publicly available flight tracking data tells us exactly what the aircraft collected during a particular sortie. It does not. What we do know is that SNC says its RAPConX aircraft uses an advanced mission system architecture designed to support airborne intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. The company has also highlighted artificial intelligence and machine learning-enabled processing, exploitation, and dissemination tools. In simple terms, the aircraft is not merely collecting data. It is designed to help transform large amounts of collected information into intelligence that commanders can actually use. That is a major difference between an ordinary surveillance aircraft and a modern deep sensing platform. And this brings us to the most interesting question. How do we even know that these aircraft were operating in the Philippines? The answer is open source intelligence, or OSINT. One of the most useful tools available to aviation researchers is public flight tracking data. Platforms such as ADSB Exchange can provide information about aircraft broadcasting compatible signals. Analysts can then examine the aircraft registration, call sign, position, altitude, direction, and historical tracks. But there is an important limitation. Military and contractor-operated intelligence aircraft do not necessarily broadcast continuously. Some flights may appear only partially. Some information may be delayed or unavailable. and historical data can be incomplete depending on the platform and subscription level. So OSINT analysts normally do not rely on one screenshot. They compare multiple observations over time. For example, an analyst might identify an aircraft in Guam, observe its movement toward the Philippines, confirm that it appeared at Cebu International Airport, and then follow subsequent flights. When several independent observations form the same pattern, confidence in the assessment increases. That is exactly what makes the ATHENA-S deployment particularly interesting. According to reporting by the Aviationist, N650SN was tracked heading toward the Philippines as early as April 1, 2026. By around April 10th, the aircraft was operating from Cebu International Airport, including an overnight sortie. Then, around April 12th, its sister aircraft N650RX arrived after stopping through Honolulu and Guam. The two aircraft subsequently operated from Cebu and were observed conducting flights toward areas over and around the South China Sea. SNC itself announced on April 15th that both ATHENA-S aircraft had completed testing and were operational in support of U.S. Army airborne ISR missions. That timing is significant. The aircraft were not simply visiting the Philippines for a short stopover. The available open-source evidence indicates a sustained deployment, and that changes how we should interpret their presence. So, how many times has this aircraft appeared in the Philippines? There is no reliable public figure for the exact number of sorties. That is important. We should not claim that N650SN flew a specific number of missions unless that number can be independently verified. What open-source tracking does show is something more useful: persistent activity. N650SN arrived in the Philippines around early April. N650RX followed shortly afterward. The two aircraft continued operating from Cebu through subsequent months, with additional activity reported into June and July. The Aviationist documented the initial deployment and identified Cebu as the operating location for the two ATHENA-S aircraft. Other OSINT tracking observations have subsequently shown flights from Cebu toward areas associated with the South China Sea and the West Philippine Sea. So rather than asking whether this aircraft appeared in the Philippines once, the more accurate question is, why have these aircraft maintained a recurring presence here for months? And that is where the strategic picture becomes much more interesting. Cebu provides an important geographic advantage. The Philippines sits at a critical location between the Pacific and Southeast Asia. From bases in the country, intelligence aircraft can potentially operate towards several strategically important areas without requiring the aircraft to fly all the way from Guam, Hawaii, Japan, or the continental United States for every mission. And because the Global 6500 is a long-range, high-altitude platform, it can spend significant time operating in its mission area. This is exactly what the U.S. Army wants from its next generation of airborne sensing. The Army has described Athena as part of its transition toward the larger Hades, or High-Accuracy Detection and Exploitation System, capability. Hades is intended to provide deep sensing intelligence and eventually replace older turboprop-based ISR platforms. The concept is straightforward: fly higher, fly farther, stay on station longer, and collect information from much deeper into an area of interest. ATHENA-S is operational. Two SNC Global 6500 aircraft have been deployed to the Philippines. Cebu has served as an operating location. An open-source flight tracking indicates recurring activity rather than a single isolated visit. So the next time you see what appears to be a normal business jet flying over the Philippines, it may be worth taking a second look. Because in modern warfare, the aircraft that looks the least threatening may sometimes be the one collecting the most valuable information. And the real story behind the aircraft mistakenly linked to a political escape rumor may actually be far more strategically important. A sophisticated U.S. Army airborne intelligence capability quietly operating from the Philippines. The aircraft may not carry a missile. It may not carry a visible weapon, but information itself can be a weapon. And in the increasingly contested skies and waters of the Indo-Pacific, knowing what is happening first can be a decisive advantage. So, what do you think about the continued presence of these highly sophisticated U.S. intelligence aircraft in the Philippines? Could the ATHENA-S deployment become an increasingly important part of the U.S.-Philippines intelligence and surveillance network in the Indo-Pacific? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this update and analysis informative, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next Philippine defense and security updates. And as always, stay informed, stay vigilant, and thank you for watching. See you in the next video.